All right. One of you is asking for some help for question number 6 and 7 in chapter in equity valuation homework. So let me just make a little video for number 6 here. In practice, a common way to value a share of stock when a company pays dividends is to value the dividends over the next 5 years or so, and then find the terminal stock price using the benchmark PE ratio. So this is interesting. All right. So we're talking about valuing stocks using dividend discount model or multiples of comparable firms. And now you see that in practice, you're actually trying to mingle these two approaches together. Okay, so let's look at how this works. Suppose a company just paid a dividend of $1.15. The dividends are expected to grow at 20% for the next 5 years. All right, and then in year 5, the estimated payout ratio is going to be 40%, and the benchmark PE ratio is 21. Okay, so if that's the case, what is the target stock price in 5 years? And what's the stock price today, assuming a required rate of return on of 12% on the stock? All right. So the analysis here, right? It's equity valuation by dividend discount model and multiples of comparable firms. Okay. So we are going to combine these two approaches and produce the stock price in 5 years versus the stock price today. So I'm going to build a timeline here, and I'm going to have at least 5 periods, but I can have more. All right, and this is an infinite timeline. And let's look at the input here. The dividend just to pay is 1.15. Okay, so we can put down 1.15 here. And then the dividend growth rate is going to be 20%. Okay, so it's going to be 20% for the next 5 years. All right, so we're just transcribing this question into Excel. All right, and then in 5 years, the dividend payout ratio is going to be 40%. Okay, and the benchmark PE ratio is 21. All right, so benchmark PE ratio. So the benchmark PE ratio is actually in 5 years, that's going to be 21. And the dividend payout ratio, we all know what that means, is in 5 years, that's going to be 40%. Okay. And investors' required rate of return is 12%. All right. So the question is, what is the stock price in 5 years and what's the stock price today? All right. So let's look at what do we have here. You have dividends today, or the most recent dividend, and then you have the growth rate. So let me calculate the future dividends. All right, so I'm going to have this future dividends here, okay? And then we know the benchmark PE ratio is 21, and the payout ratio is 40%. So let me just look at what is the earnings per share in year 5. Okay, so we know the dividend payout ratio is actually defined as, right? So the 40% is defined as the dividend in year 5 divided by earnings per share in year 5. So let's look at dividend in year 5. We have this 2.86. Earnings per share in year 5, well, we don't know, but we have this equation. So yes, we can solve for this earnings per share. So earnings per share in year 5 is going to be the dividend in year 5 divided by the dividend payout ratio. So that will give us 7.15, dollars, earnings per share, right? So if that's the case, let's look at the stock price in year 5, okay? So the stock price in year 5, remember this is the valuation by multiples. So we have the earnings per share and we have the benchmark PE ratio. So that's gonna be the stock price in year 5. All right, so now you see that you can think of this, as a hypothetical myopic investor who is going to only invest in the stock for 5 years and sell the stock at the end of year 5. Let's look at the cash flow per period to this investor. So this is going to be the stock price in year 5. This is like the par value, or this is like the, resale price plus the dividend. All right. So that is the cash flow in year 5. Let me copy to the left. All right. So present value of each cash flow, and I'm going to do the discounting here using the 12% discount rate. So that's going to be the cash flow divided by 1 plus the 12% raised to the power of 1 here, and I can copy to the right. All right, so present value of all cash flows, that's going to be the stock price today. That's going to be the summation of all these numbers, and that's going to be 92.35. So the answer, all right, stock price in year 5, that's going to be 153.09. Stock price today, that's going to be 92.35. Okay, so that is replicating the answer you see on your homework. All right, I hope this is useful. I'll stop the video here.